Contrary to government policy, some schools in Chegutu were sending students home over non-payment of school fees as schools opened for the second term. Secretary for Information Nick Mangwana shared the news on his X, highlighting what some schools were doing in defiance of government directive.
So in the second term guidelines by the Ministry of Education, the government has said no child should be sent home due to fee non-payment. The government has also said parents are at liberty to purchase uniforms at outlets of their choice. The government also urging parents and guardians to pay fees in any currency, including the ZiG. So we did start this discussion yesterday as schools opened, and we're talking about the policy that is being pushed by the government, some of the contradictions that we see in terms of how schools implement them, and even parents sometimes not even taking time to report. And I'm trying to figure out what is it going to take for us to find common ground, because there seems to be an open defiance.
Yeah.
I mean, and then if you're having Nick Mangwana coming out and actually putting schools on blast, my question is, and then what?
Yeah, Titch, this is always the question. I mean, a directive is always given, but then, like how it's going to be implemented is always the question. And remember yesterday we did talk about the schools, teachers and parents coming together. I don't know if that has been done. Maybe that needs to be done first during the holiday time or beginning of schools and stuff. Or maybe every school should just be a little bit more lenient for a week and hear the stories and then report back and see the way forward. So at the end of the day, I do know that there's always going to be defiance in some of these directives that are given. Human nature, probably.
Yeah, and I think one thing that I also just want to look at as well is, we operate in a multi-currency system. So yeah. I think even from the school side, I was thinking about it yesterday, where you realize that maybe a huge part of our economy is informal, and by default a huge part of that operates and functions in US dollars. So I think if they're also open-minded about it, I think they could still get their fair chunk of US dollars to meet some of their US dollars based expenses and still have that ZiG. Because the honest truth is the ZiG has been stable. If anything, it's been scarce. So you'd think schools will be like, all right, for some of the things that we might need to directly pay for in ZiG.
Let's
we're going to take
the ZiG.
We're going to take that from the parents, but I think it's more of a culture thing in terms of the schools just deciding that we're US dollar based, just like we see when it comes to issues like buying fuel or paying rentals. I think there's certain sectors and segments of our economy
that need the US dollar,
where it's by default the currency is USD based. But I think
I like what you said. I like what you said about the certain things that we need to pay for ZiG, because you start thinking about even boarding schools when it comes to buying vegetables or something in the store. It's much cheaper to use our currency to get that. So I like that aspect of just let's balance. Let's just not be too staunch on just having one direction of it. But for you, how was schools opening?
Schools opening. The funny thing is, like, you always think that you've covered everything, then you realize, oh, the shoes gotten one. There's a missing sock, or there's the shoes gotten smaller over the holidays. Now you have to get a new pair of school shoes. It's just
But did you have any glitches in terms of school fees and stuff like that? Or stories of any child being sent back where your child goes to school?
No, I haven't heard anything. I was just deeply annoyed on Monday morning because I think the systems that were put in place for people to pay school fees in terms of maybe the convenience were not as smooth as I would have liked. I think there was a preference for you to go and pay directly at the school, as opposed to maybe just doing a bank transfer from the office or whatever. So I think there was a bit of a frustration there. But remember, I'm just surprised, because we were talking yesterday about a theme that we've seen in the past couple of terms where there's robberies and people getting because of the payments. Because
that's probably going to be our next.
I'm like fingers crossed we can
get through in the schools.
We can get through the week without getting through one of those stories as well.